Hello, Sushil.
Hi.
Welcome to Seeker Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, people. This is Robin Sharma once again, here with one of my best friend and a seeker, and I really admire for what he does and who he is, and I think we're gonna have a hell lot of fun today talking about a beautiful topic, I would say,
Yeah.
and our topic would be death.
Huh.
So, yeah, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, man. It's my first podcast. Very excited.
Yeah. How's your like before I start the topic and before we go into it, right? I always have this question that I have, which is what is a seeker?
Yeah.
And how you think you are a seeker and what are you seeking in life?
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
I think that honestly saying, I've been a seeker since a very young age.
Yeah?
Manche sanu merबाट I've been always wanting to look up things. I've been always very curious. I think for me, a seeker is somebody who just seeks the truth, who just seeks something more than whatever is given by their perceptions, right?
So what do you mean by
So,
given
for
that?
example, I grew up in Belgium, so we used to go to this Catholic school.
Uh-huh.
होइन? अनि in this Catholic school, we used to go to the church every 2 weeks. One time we had to go to the church, like the whole school went. And when we went, they gave all the Christian boys and girls this little piece of flat bread, and it looked like a candy. Okay? Someone was एकदमै मोटो थियो, so every window for me to eat was like an opportunity. होइन? But I couldn't eat it. मैले खान पाउँथिनँ.
Okay.
I was not I was not allowed to eat it, and I was always curious. Okay, what is it? And why can't I? And then I slowly realized that the Western world is the land of the believers, and the Eastern world is the land of the seekers. And I've always been a seeker my whole life. I've
Okay.
always been looking at underlying meanings, the bigger picture, what is life about?
Yeah.
One question leading to another one, and
Yeah.
coming to kind of like the topic of today. Yeah.
The death.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you consider, and I think you are a seeker because definitely we had a lot of amazing conversation over the period of time. Like at this point of time, what are you seeking? What is that you are seeking right now?
I'm seeking the truth, man. I'm just seeking the truth. I'm seeking every day. I'm just trying to make the best out of this life. And I think I'm trying to seek on what my purpose is in this life, kind of like the bigger truth. Not like what money I should earn or what position I should have or how many kids I should have. Not that, but like the bigger picture, okay? The spiritual side of it.
Nice. So you're more on that. So like, in terms of understanding you as a person, right? I see you changing over the period of time since I know you, right? And I think you become more spiritually aligned over the period of time. And when we discuss, we have this deeper understanding of life, right? And as we have this deeper understanding of life, we also try to contemplate death at the same time. And also, like, I think it was a very interesting topic that we decided that we're going to discuss on death. And I think there's very few podcasts out there who talks seriously just about death.
Yeah.
So let's get into it and see that what's your perspective on how you see death and what your idea is of death.
Well, my idea of death has probably changed over the time. I think that
Could you like just take us through that?
could I take you through that? Yeah, definitely. I think when I was a young kid, very young, I did not even know what death was.
Okay.
I think the first time I was faced with death, or death was close to me, was when I was about 11 years old. Mate, Nepal Mate, and I came to visit because we were living in Belgium at the time. And my grandmother, she passed away in 2005. She was hit by a car accident, and afterwards, I still remember it vividly. My mom waking me up in the morning and just tears over her face, and she in Dutch she was like I'm a bit I just cried. I just cried because that was the first time that death had entered my life to a person that was dear to me. But at the same time, I was close with my grandmother, but not as close as it should have been. There was always a big distance, but there was a lot of love from her side. So losing somebody that loves you was always, as a kid, especially 11 years old, was hard. but it was, it was bearable because it was not my mom or my dad that I grew up with. I didn't grow up with my grandmother. I knew her from when I was 5, 6 years old. So there was still a distance, but I felt that. Ani, for me, it was just the moment it happened. I never went to, are they going to come back? Do I miss them? I mean, it was just directly, they're gone. It's over. It's done, kind of. And त्यसपछि चाहिँ I've never been faced with death. But as a kid, always, I was not so much concerned about death. Then after my grandmother died, the topic came in my life. And then I've started thinking a lot about death. A lot. But not on a daily basis, obviously, but throughout certain periods of my life. So, friends ko, family members biteko, friends or biteko, and then it was always a very intriguing topic to me. And then recently I got a lot into Sadhguru and spirituality, and I read a lot of things about life which were amazing, but then I questioned myself, like, death is such a topic that is it's not spoken about in our culture.
Not as much as it should be. And I think in terms of when you look into the history or the books and everything, they celebrated death over here. Like how we take the process of death, like kriya basne 13 din gaera jalaune, like all that is well designed for us to be over the person who has passed away. And I feel like there's so much of significance that has been lost. Okay, they're like we do not reconnect. My my understanding of death, like in my perspective, was when I got to know, I think there were so many death news that I would hear would not affect me. It was my granddad when I was in China that I heard that he died, and the idea of that him dying was so unbelievable to me that I did not buy that idea for many years until I came back here and I could not find him, and that really hit me. And so at that point of time I'm like, okay, the person goes away and is somewhere, and they would talk to you, they'll be with you.
मनमा चाहिँ त्यो खोजेपछि भेटाएन भने चाहिँ त्यो एउटा फिलिङ आउँछ नि.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
That's the feeling of, I feel like that's where I realized, like, damn, man, like death is something that's like end of life.
Yeah, but I think we perceive death also in a wrong way. Okay? We perceive it as like some kind of punishment. And I think the modern religions especially, they
want to avoid it.
Yeah, and they're like, अब यसको कर्म राम्रो थिएन पनि हाम्रो कल्चरमा पनि भन्छ हैन, 20 वर्षमा बितेपछि यसको कर्म राम्रो थियो थिएन भने, अब like death is something that it's inevitable.
Exactly. For everybody.
It's for everybody, and modern science ले गर्दाखेरि maybe we'll go to 120 years, 150 years, maybe even 200 years. But death will always be inevitable because death is the balancing thing in this world. And without death, life has no purpose.
Why do you say that?
Because I think that, for example, if you could do your life all over again in the same scenario, that obviously, the first life would just be like trial and error, and you would make a lot of mistakes, and you would not care. You would not care. You would not live it as intensely as you should. And then in the second life, you would be scared because if let's say you just play a video game, let's keep it very simple, let's say you play a game of FIFA with a friend, and let's say you have 2 games, and if you don't win, you have to pass the controller. That first game is all cool, but that second game you're like, oh shit, man, I gotta score that goal. You know what I mean?
I know. You're on their edge.
You're on your edge, exactly. And then I think with death, I think that death gives so much meaning to our life. Like it just a lot of people, they are like, they think they're immortal. They think that they can do anything, and a car accident happens to somebody and they're like, oh, look what the bad luck. But little do they know that death is just around the corner for a lot of people. And some people fortunately, unfortunately die. I don't know. And the reality is that death is so powerful that if you just think about it for 5 to 10 minutes a day, about like just in the morning you just get ready and you're like,
you do that?
Bro, I've been doing that for like 2 months.
Yeah?
Like
tell us about the process.
So what I do is usually I have this routine in Kathmandu where I do my morning spiritual kind kind of mantras and meditations.
Yeah.
And every time that I get out of the house, it's like a little, it's like a little. Actually, it's like a little औषधि के सानो pill, And I took it in a way that every time I exit the door, I'm just thinking to myself like, man, what if I die today? Then this is my last day, right? What if I let's just say hypothetically, what if I die today in the evening, maybe, right? Hopefully not.
Hopefully
then I gotta
not.
live it today, right?
Yeah.
And I gotta put smiles on people's faces, and I gotta make sure that I'm not careless, but I'm a little bit carefree. And I joke around.
So this universal question is like, what if it was your last day? How would you live?
It's not necessarily what if it was your last day, and it is in a way, yes.
Yeah. Now I'm saying like that is how you're conceptualizing your day, and then starting that day off. Like, if it is my last day, I'll live it to my best.
It's more like this. It's more like, what if it was my last day? What if it were my last moment?
Okay.
That's what
it's not even a day, it's a moment.
It's a moment. So if it's a day, see, what people do is, if they get a limited amount of time and they start planning and shit, they're gonna I'm gonna get everything out of my bank account. I'm gonna spend it all on all the things I want to do. I'm gonna travel the world in a month and then I'm gonna die. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, it's more like you have moments throughout the day, right? And then during this moment, you can decide for yourself: do I want to live in my head, or do I want to live in the world and experience the world and actually live it and enjoy it? And death is this counterpart where every time you think about death, like I could die any moment. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna die. But if you can die any moment, so therefore you have to think to yourself like, okay, I have to live everything that I like to the fullest I can. Not enjoy, live. Live also means whenever you're going through pain, you fully go through it. You actually experience it. It's a process. Have you ever seen somebody crying for a year straight?
No.
Not
even hours.
Not even hours नि थाकिन्छ नि यार थाकिन्छ भोक लाग्छ नि यार
भोक लाग्छ सुत्न पर्यो
सुत्न पर्यो यार हैन निन्द्रा नलागे पनि 2-3 रात नलाग्ला तेस्रो रात त
दुखे because your body can't do it. Like either your body has to give up.
I think it's also, see, हाम्रो सोसाइटीमा चाहिँ यो sadness अनि missing somebody has been portrayed in such a way, and especially with the movies, like I'm not on any side, but the Western world has produced a lot of movies in terms of death and life and romance and this and that, which have filled people's minds with expectations. हाम्रो society-मा चाहिँ, like, I'm speaking about the Eastern culture, especially the origins of India and Nepal. We are a land of seekers. We are not a land of believers. When the gods came, and when conversations came about the God, we were the ones who were like, why this, why that?
You question it.
You always question it.
Yes.
And there's actually a lot of scientific evidence in our
yes, and then culture. Also, like, I think not only in us but in Sufism or Bible,
no, in a lot of places.
There are like questions and answers, right? But I feel like the depth of questions that we have asked in our religion, right, in terms of understanding us and also understanding death, let's say, I feel like there's more deeper sense. We could be biased in terms of our understanding, right? But like, I agree with you to a point where, see, what I know in my understanding is that death is the ultimate truth. Like, in my life, right, you would be my friend, this thing will exist or not, everything is not a very reality. Like, it is kind of like how they say Maya, right? It's an illusion that is in front of you, right? You go through it, you experience it, you have your own reality, I have my own reality, I have my own perception, you have your own perception. But there's one thing that is very much common between you and me, okay? That is the destination of death, right? And for me, above all truths that are existing in this world, the truth that I believe, whether the God exists or not, is also secondary. Is the death that sides.
So we usually say that एउटा मान्छेको मर्ने दिन generally हुन्छ नि, there's
defined हुन्छ
भन्छ नि, हैन, लेखेको चीजहरु भन्छ नि. But so it's how you have to see it, हैन, like, you have life and you have death, हैन. And what's common between you and I is not only death, it's also life. We are both life.
Okay.
We have both life.
Mhm.
You have it in your form, in your body,
Yeah.
with your mind.
Yeah.
I have it in my form with my body, with
Yeah.
my mind. My life is not worth more than your life. Your life is not worth more than my life. It's all about equanimity. Like that's the whole basis of the
Exactly.
yogic
Like
culture.
even our both life is not more than worth than an ant's life. Let's say.
No. All life is the same. Basically, it comes out of one pool, and eventually, if you want to fulfill your karma, it will go to that pool. It will dissolve.
Okay.
It will go to that pool as well. And I think for spiritual seekers, to dissolve their life source, that's the ultimate longing.
Exactly.
And
So-
that's a death is the vehicle for that.
So how do you channel that? Because I think one thing, because the way we are talking, right, and if we go and see in the normal terms, right, it's very taboo right now to talk about death openly. If you see, right, like in a conversation, if you're like, oh, morne kura nagaro, moreko kura nagaro, like this, even in the Eastern culture, we don't tend to really openly discuss mrityu, like mrityu like
No, I think that's because of the fact that we, as a society, we have become very weak. As
Yeah.
a society, we have become very, very weak. I can name you many examples of
Please.
why. I think one of the things is we have become very dependent as well. I think nowadays, if you ask anybody like how would you want to die, they would tell you, I would like to be surrounded by my family and my children and grandchildren, and that's how I want to die. And it's like basically the last thing you want to see before you leave this planet is the people that you hold the closest and the dearest to you. You're gonna have all that attachment before you leave.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst way to leave.
Okay.
That's the absolute worst way to live, because even in animals, if you see this, we will rarely see a dead animal in the jungle and then that died naturally. Okay, animals usually when they die a natural death, they retreat, they go away, and they die in peace on their own. Okay, human beings used to do that in the past as well. But then societies developed and then we lost that essence. अहिले पनि कति मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ भनौँ न, a lot of samadhi, exactly, like a lot of spiritual people, they go up to the mountains, they want to live alone separately.
Yeah. And they want to leave their body consciously.
Yeah, they want to leave their body consciously, plus they want to be closer to nature.
How do they do that? Like, how is that possible?
Body consciously leave गर्न भनेको. Well, you have to have a certain mastery of your energies for that.
Okay.
And to do that, you need to do a lot of sadhana, a lot of.
Okay. Do you seek that?
Yes, so I don't seek to leave my body. Yes, so okay. I'm probably, that's a very, very, very far away. But let's say.
So as in like normal audience, अब हामीले बुझ्ने उनीहरूले पनि बुझ्नु पर्यो नि त.
Yeah.
So what do we seek? Like in death, okay, we understand death is the ultimate truth. We need to really realize death, and we should be openly accepting it in a way that we need to remember it every day, right? We remember it every day. We are grateful for life. So we value death so we can value life. But how do we seek death now? Like, how do I say that, okay, this is how my death is going to come?
It's just I don't necessarily think about how I'm going to die.
Okay.
I
So
think
anybody should not think about how they are going to die.
it's not about whether they should or not. It's more about, see, the idea of you dying. The idea of you dying, the idea of you being gone. See, if you had asked me last year, and Sushil, like, what would happen if you die? Then I would come up with all kinds of scenarios like, this guy will miss me, that will happen, this. But the reality is, nothing will happen. The world will move on.
Exactly.
Like, my parents will cry, they'll get better again, they'll move on again. There'll be some void in them, but that's because of the attachment they created, because of the human attachment they created. Same with my siblings, same with my friends. It might be sad, they might miss me.
No, definitely.
Very true.
I think after that,
but
people
what
will love
can you
missed.
do? What can you do?
You only miss.
होइन?
Miss मात्र गर्ने हो.
Exactly. But that doesn't.
But I think it's also like, let's say for you, right? And as we are talking about that, let's say you at certain point you die, and then there are certain things, right? If you are a person with a legacy, you're a person who have given a lot back, there would be times where, let's say my grandfather, right? He's teaching. At times, I remember him when that moment comes, and I say that, oh yeah,
memories or sentimental attachment, they're all based by because of your.
So that's like in my head.
That's your mind.
That's my mind, right?
That's your mind.
So in reality, there's no difference.
यस्तो छ तिम्रो. So the reason why why I should not die soon or why I should not die today is because of the fact that I have life in me,
Yeah.
and I want to experience that life, and I want other people to experience that life throughout me as well. I want to make people smile. I want to create a better world.
Okay, so I have another question for you. Can I
Yeah.
ask you that? Do you think death is destined? Like it is written? Like how?
यस्तो छ अब के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि that
Because there's two ways of seeing it नि त अब मर्ने दिन लेखेकै छ किन डराउने भनेर मान्छेले जे मलाई त्यही गर्दा
यस्तो छ अब मैले तिमीलाई एउटा कुरा म भन्छु होइन there's this guy he's sitting this is a little story and there's this guy sitting with his friends in a restaurant in like a local bhatti and they're having food let's name this guy, let's say I'm wearing an Elements sweater, let's say Harke is having some food with his friends and they have ordered some chicken items and they have ordered some egg items and then his friends are having like a very heavy discussion like what came first, the chicken or the egg भनेर अनि कसैलाई थाहा छैन अनि पछि हर्केलाई सोध्छन् के हर्के पहिला के आएको थियो अन्डा पहिला आएको थियो कि कुखुरा पहिला आएको थियो भनेको अनि हर्के इज लाइक अब जे पहिला अर्डर गर्थ्यो त्यही पहिला आएको थियो भनेर भन्छन् whatever you ordered first is going to come first भनेर भनेको
Exactly.
in terms of because they're eating
Okay.
the basis of this thing is like it's not an important question.
Okay.
It's not an important question whether
Okay,
it was
so-
destined or not that is absolutely not relevant.
No, because this is the okay. I would just like taking your argument of like
Yeah.
this is not a relevant question, but these are the questions that have been asked a lot.
Yeah,
they're
but-
the questions that are discussed a lot in the conversation.
Yeah, अब यस्तो छ अब त्यो कसलाई थाहा हुन्छ कसलाई थाहा हुँदैन त्यो you don't know नि हैन
Exactly.
अब मरेपछि चाहिँ it's very easy to point like hey it was destined भन्ने
Yeah, exactly. Like मरिसकेपछि त यसको भाग्यमा यति नै थियो यति नै पायो
yeah,
भनेर
it's
is a
very-
way of like accepting the reality of his death.
यस्तो हुन्छ त्यो so how destined what people mean by that is जस्तो आजकलको दिनमा पनि कति मान्छेले चिनाहरू देखाउँछन् नि मान्छेलाई चाहिँ like birth chartहरू so your birth chart was originally formed because of your tendencies. So आफ्नो soulको आफ्नो life inside yourself and your life sourceको certain tendencies हुन्छ के when you pass away, when your life leaves your body, when the life energies leave your body, then your body doesn't have a mind anymore. So if you speak and then like souls, they can't really listen to your words, it just sounds, it doesn't make sense, but they have tendencies to go somewhere and to do some things and to be attracted. That's a tendency of life.
Okay.
अनि birth start पनि tendency अनुसार बनेको हुन्छ के
Okay.
it's your tendency.
Okay.
So that's basically what happens, and whatever you include the mind in, a lot of thinking is going to happen there, and it's so that's why we do the kriya yoga. We do like you're not the body, you're not even the mind, because you're going to hit directly your life source, and you're going to and that's going to have effects on your life on a daily basis as well, which you're going to profoundly find out.
Okay. So like talking about I think we have discussed on like what is death and how we perceive it. While we discuss, right, what are the things, fundamental things in people's life, especially in deathbed, like especially old people, right? There are so many regrets people carry around deathbeds, right? There's only like certain realization that comes on deathbed. What is your insight? Like how would you like to be on your deathbed if you have thought about your death a lot?
I think that to fully answer that question, I need to live more, definitely.
Okay.
But I see my relationship with death very personal.
Okay.
That's my relationship. I actually see my relationship with my life force also very personal. That's my individual journey. And I feel like I've already discovered a couple of things that I definitely will not regret, on my deathbed. In the sense that I might have regretted if I were there. So some of the things I'm doing better for myself. For example, one of the things is I for some reason chose to come to Nepal to live close to my parents, to live close to my siblings, and to work here and to earn a good living here as well because of the resort. And initially, without knowing it, it was just done because of the fact that dad had built this resort, and mom was here and my brother was here, and I came back. I could have had a nice life in Belgium without a doubt, and Belgium is a great country, it's a great place. But for my mind it was nice, it was all right, but for me it was, it was only Rupakot here. But then I came here, and then suddenly my soul started opening up to this place. And I love the fact that Nepal, especially Kathmandu, is very spiritual. It's a good place for seekers.
Yes, it is.
It's a very good place
So,
for seekers.
just to add to that thought, Kathmandu in itself, Mallako Palama, this is how energy bodies, right? The temples are energy bodies.
They're consecrated energy bodies.
Yeah, they consecrated this whole place, okay, at one point of time.
Nice.
They have consecrated this whole place, and they have placed temples in such a way that every area is like full of energy. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and that's how this place has been built, and that is why when somebody is coming here, like especially from people from outside, travelers,
That's probably why the people of Kathmandu have so much resilience, bro.
yeah,
The government,
man,
right?
the government, true. Like road bane pani nabane, it's all good, okay? It's
Yeah.
all fine because because this is the thing I was telling to
Yeah.
one of my friend, okay? Like हुन्छ नि मान्छे बुढो भइसकेपछि उसले खोज्छ के, उसले यही शान्ति, चिल,
Yeah.
आराम खोजिरहेको हुन्छ.
I think
Which
to-
we already have it. Okay?
I think that coming back to your question about on my deathbed, what I would want to do is, I think what I would want to feel on my deathbed is that I want to be the person that values life in such a way that it sees everything equal as it is to myself as well. Because a lot of things are formed in my mind, which were incorrect. Now I'm coming to realize, and I was.
Okay, can you elaborate that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I had a big ego growing up. I had
Okay.
a very big ego growing up. I always thought of myself as better as some people. I thought of myself as maybe some bit more talented than other people. And I don't know, for some reason I was being very judgmental, very self-obsessed, narcissistic, let's say. And even to come हुँदै गएपछि I still feel that nowadays, that's why I like the yogic path as well, is that I see that there's a lot of equality in everything. Whenever, for example, a person is mad at you, and आज पनि actually म यहाँ स्कुटीमा आएको थिएँ, अनि बाटोको बिचमा चाहिँ एउटा दाइले चाहिँ एकदमै बिस्तारै त्यो स्कुटी फर्काउनु भएको थियो, and I was coming full speed, and मैले ब्रेक गरेँ होइन, अनि मैले हर्न बजाएको थिएँ, अनि दाइले मलाई थर्काएर किन हर्न बजाउनु भएको, यहीँ त छु नि गरेर. अनि I was like, beforehand म त एक्सप्लोड भएर म रिसाएर थर्काउँथेँ यताउति, अनि दाइ नरिसाउनु न भनेर. एन्ड देन आई जस्ट लेफ्ट. होइन, किनकि ऊ रिसाए नरिसाए पनि गएर त्यो त उसको माइन्डले गरेको चिज हो नि, होइन, त्यो त उसको माइन्डले गरेको चिज हो नि. ऊ राम्रो देखे नराम्रो देखे त्यो त उसले पाएको जिउ हो नि, तर ऊ भित्र उसको लाइफ छ नि, त्यो त द्याट्स इक्वल टु मी नि.
Exactly.
That's equal to me. We come from the same source,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to view everything like that now.
That's beautiful.
With animals, with plants as well. And I think that sentiment gives me a lot of peace. It gives me a lot of peace and understanding, Pani. And I think that is something that I want to fully carry through on my deathbed. I don't want to be attached on my deathbed. I want to be detached, especially from my family. I don't mind for the last couple of months of my life to just go on my own and live separately. I really don't, and I would love if my partner would do the same with me, but I don't necessarily think that we're going to die on the same time though.
Yeah.
But I don't want that. I want to have my full spiritual journey in life. Okay? I don't want to be my life about only my family and my children or whatever. मैले जहाँ जहाँ मेरो responsibility छ त्यो मेरो म गर्छु, तर I want to have that spiritual journey at the very end. And I think that that is something that my inner self is also longing for. It's a tendency, okay? बुझ्यो? So with karma, you have two types of karmas. Your life source has two types of karmas. One is your prarabdha karma, which is your karma of this life. This is karma timle bhyaunu parcha your life ma. And then you have, once you can do that and unlock karma of the past life, they call it sanchita karma. And you have to find, everybody has to find their own karma if they want to spiritually be, inclined, enlightened. And for me, I think that is one of the ways. I think that probably why I came to Nepal on such an early time, and the reason why I went to Belgium to come to Nepal. You know, Nepalमा हुर्केको होइन नि. I went to Belgium. I came here. So Belgium must have played an important role for me. And maybe for my intelligence पनि. होइन, maybe because I really you know.
Because you get to see outside the box.
I get to see outside the box as well. And you know, मेरो एउटा certain level of education पनि भयो. And I think that because I grew up in Belgium, I you know, in the country of believers, I was a seeker. होइन?
Yeah.
I was a seeker in a country of believers, and I just couldn't find a match. I couldn't find an environment where I could seek, where I could
and
grow.
then your soul was not really satisfied there.
Soul satisfied भन्दा पनि यस्तो छ के, soul was just there, होइन, तर it was not vibrant. And here it's
not alive.
Yeah, here it's vibrant. Here my energy levels are different. Here I feel things. Here अनि मलाई त things feel गर्नलाई like in the simplest of ways, bro. Like I don't need a car, I don't need a fancy place, whatever. You know, like I can have a very good experience. Just like if I have a book and I'm reading, and I just go to the book and I look at the sun, and then if I can see the wind breeze go through the plants, and then like, you know, that's when life is happening. Okay? These are the moments in life, okay? And that's when you realize like you should enjoy this. You should take this with you, and this is a part of your life, rather than okay. नेक्स्ट गोल इन अ मन्थमा यो इभेन्ट हुन्छ, अथवा यति पैसा कमाइन्छ, अथवा यो हुन्छ, अथवा यहाँ बिहा हुन्छ, एन्ड लाइक अल दिस थिङ्स होइन, द म्यान मेड अप इभेन्ट्स यताउति दे किप यु डिस्ट्र्याक्टेड फ्रम लाइफ. मैले तिमीलाई अघि नै पनि भनेको थिएँ नि, आई स दिस मुभी यस्टरडे कल्ड सोल. इट्स अ पिक्चर मुभी होइन, फर अल द भ्युवर्स. इट्स an amazing movie. If you like this podcast, you're gonna love that movie, bro. And there was this one part where this guy talks about two fish in the ocean. I don't know if you remember the story.
Two fish in the ocean.
Yeah, two fish. Please in the ocean. And this younger fish, he asks the elder fish, like, you know, hey, can you tell me where the ocean is? Once again, what do you mean? So to the elder fish, like, can you tell me where the ocean is? Where do you think you are, brother? And then the younger fish is like, this is just water. I'm looking for the ocean. You get it?
Yeah.
So we are always looking for things, but it's just around us.
Yeah. I think, and I think, do you think this realization that you have right now, right, which I feel is very profound realization, how much of a understanding of death has helped you to come to this realization, or this realization is independent to what you think of death?
See, realization bhanda ni, so the yogic way is always the way of the experience, right? It's never the way of your intellect understanding things.
Okay.
You have to experience things to actually
definitely
move on.
Definitely.
So as far as my experience go, it's very limited. I do daily sadhanas, I do meditations, I try to increase my knowledge as well to improve my sadhanas and improve my routines. But in terms of intellect, yeah, I can you know, figure out a very nice way of thinking and of understanding the world now, and it makes more sense with the readings and with the scientific background. A lot of Sadhguru, which actually, you know, helped me in everything in life, but in terms of experience, I still need to do more and more. I just got into this that I know I'm gonna stay into this, because this is probably one of the things that I have been seeking for. I used to, पहिला चाहिँ, like when I was in high school, you know, I used to take care of my health, go to the gym. That was one aspect of it. That in college, you know, I had a great time, and after college, like something was missing. And then I got into these self-help books, motivational books, then, you know, history, psychology, all these things, you know. And then always like a small answer to one thing, a small answer to another thing, and then, you know, you always ask yourself more questions. But then you come to the most important question, right?
Yeah.
Why are we here? Why do we live?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with us?
Yeah.
And then the reality is, there's only one reality. So that's death. That's the reality. Yeah.
So all of these questions can answer the reality which lies.
Man, it was like 28 years of looking. Something like that.
No, that's amazing, because I feel like, for me also, like one of the profound understanding of death, because I think while we talk about death, did you have any near-death experience in your life?
Well, I did a lot of dumb shit. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I did a lot of dumb shit. I would say, yeah, so a couple of times maybe.
Would you like to share one?
Nah. Okay. No. I think that near death experience, like I was just as a kid, I was dumb. Like I fell off the bike and shit like that. I did a lot of that thing, those things. I near death experience say त्यस्तो साह्रै near death त पनि होइन तर pretty dangerous. I'd say pretty dangerous. But not that my heart rate dropped down. अब यस्तो पनि छ अब in the modern world and according to science, people are declared death. मान्छेले चाहिँ death declare गर्छन्, the heartbeat drops for a certain amount of time and then you are declared death.
Yeah.
Then you're gone, But for some reason your nails and your hair they keep growing.
Yeah.
So the life has not left your body apparently, because if you're
like
dead,
even after you die.
After you die for a certain amount of time, your nails keep growing and your hair keeps growing as well.
Okay.
And it takes your body a certain amount of time to cool down. And also like there are a couple of energies in the body, the pranas they call them, that leave the body turn by turn. And so that's probably one of the reasons why your nails are still growing, because there are certain pranas in your body that are still leaving after you die.
Okay.
And हाम्रो Hindu culture ma चाहिँ so these energies the energies that leave the body, these energies they can get attached to people as well and because of that reason we have all these very profound kind of practices in our culture that nowadays people just do it without thinking.
Okay.
It's like reading the Bible or the Quran as a physicist or as a scientist without actually understanding the full stories behind it and reading in between the
context
lines.
Behind it.
Yeah, reading in between the lines. It is actually, these texts have some value as well. Obviously.
Exactly, because they would not have survived if not.
So तिम्रो यो कपाल मुड लाउने मैले तिमीले अस्ति पनि भनेको थिएँ नि मान्छेले चाहिँ अब छोरा मान्छेले चाहिँ किन कपाल मुड लाउनु पर्छ भनेर. The reason is very simple. It's because of the fact that छोरा र छोरी मान्छेमा फरक के हुन्छ भन्दा पहिलाको जमानामा चाहिँ हाम्रो भनौँ न एन्सेस्टर्सको जमानामा when a daughter usually a daughter was married a guy and she would live far away अनि if her parents had died ऊ फेरि माइत आउनु पर्थ्यो अनि माइत आउनलाई चाहिँ उसलाई टाइम लाग्थ्यो अनि राति फेरि एक्लै हिँड्न मिल्थेन त्यो जमानामा अँध्यारो हुन्थ्यो. So most of the time she could not attend the ritual and in those times बडीलाई within an hour क्रिमेट गर्नु पर्थ्यो अनि छोरा मात्रै हुन्थ्यो अनि छोराले चाहिँ कपाल किन मुडलाउनु पर्थ्यो भने किनकि त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ we didn't have the modern day barbers, right? अहिले त तिम्रो र मेरो कपाल छोटो छ, दाढी ठिकेको छ. पहिला त it was very long जहाँ पनि it was okay. अनि के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि कपालमा चाहिँ कपाल can hold an energy form. So static भन्छ नि. If you ever rub a balloon against your hair and then that means that your hair can hold certain electrical charges, static.
Okay.
But it's believed that the hair can also hold other kind of energies. For example, the deceased man's energies ko kuni kapalma rahe bhanechi that's not good for you भने त्यो कारणले काटेको. It has to do with the energy body. So the fundamental thing is in the yogic sciences and you have your mind, you have your physical body, and then you have the energy body. And the energy body has a lot to do with all these kind of rituals, because death ma chai energies are release huncha so also these energies they also go into not only human beings and also into the life materials, earth, fire, water, that's why for example,
elements.
The 5 elements. That's why, for example, ago baldakheri chai you have 2 types of fires in the Hindu culture.
Yes.
Euta bhaneko normal ago, arko bhaneko cremation ground ko ago.
Yes.
Which is charged with all these energies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty interesting because I feel like as a modern boy, we studied so many Western things. We studied so many understanding of how death is. Like we perceive science as the ultimate truth to us, right? Till a point, I would say. Like till a point, I would not believe in God. I was a very atheist person, and now it comes to understanding death and all these procedures and how they conduct everything.
And the Western world, it's के छ भन्दाखेरि अब यो religion चाहिँ यिनीहरूले so the text where they came from, what it means, and I don't know about that, but how they used it.
Yeah.
How they used it is they used it in such a way that they really wanted to manipulate society.
Control people.
Exactly. to control people होइन and to control
The crowd.
the crowd so अब heaven and hell भन्ने अब if you after you die you go to heaven you go to hell after you die you know in according to some cultures you get you know a certain amount of virgins in heaven and अब you leave your body here but your soul goes to heaven what is it going to do with virgins I don't know like you need your body for that you know?
Exactly. You just cremated your body.
Actually it doesn't make sense के अनि like there are a lot of things होइन
Which are illogical.
so अब हामी you would be surprised होइन how illogical human beings are nowadays you would be actually man मलाई चाहिँ reading these texts understanding a lot of the spiritual way the yogic way what I've understood is especially in the Western world in the free world freedom भन्ने चिज छ नि अब people they hurt themselves with their intellect के people have become so smart होइन
that smartness is hurting them
that's hurting them so badly ke. Like people nowadays their intellect works against them ke. And we cover it up with you know the psychologists and you know it's depression this and no
medicine
clinically हुन सक्छ हैन
definitely
हुन सक्छ
अन्त पहिला हुन्थेन
तर यस्तो छ के there are a lot of cases of people and that are actually hurting themselves psychologically
exactly and I think त्यो medical state मा पुग्न भन्दा अगाडि त like when he actually need a medical help त्यो state भन्दा अगाडि त he must have gone through a long process of
that is
hurting himself
see so that is because of the fact that where we went wrong is we did not understand the how you are formed so you have your energy body you have your physical body and you have your mind and a lot of people they identify themselves with either their mind or with their body
how do you identify yourself
I don't identify myself with my mind nor my body at the moment but at times मेरो पुरानो habits they kick in and then sometimes I identify myself with my mind for example and then my
ego playing FIFA no
yeah definitely no I do that for fun he loses all the time no
I'll win one day
no but I've recently like I have to say that I'm not bothered by it okay? Like I like to win but I'm not bothered by it anymore it's
no, we can go back to the topic
yeah but the ego whenever I feel my ego there behind the corner then I'm like okay man damn the ego is back there that's not good and I try to identify myself with my you know universal
so like now when these are old habits are kicking in you kind of sense them that oh after a while they're kicking in and then you
I've become a bit more aware of that as well I think I've become a bit more aware but I think that consciousness पनि एकदमै ठुलो रोल प्ले गर्छ I think that we lack a lot of consciousness as well as human beings you know when you empower a limited identity violence is a natural consequence it's always that
yeah so how do you be talking about the violence right there's so many things going around the world there's so many I don't know there's war there is so much of you know pain out there and there's so many deaths the way people die like recently they were talking about Nepal is that there was a plane crash that happened right how do you perceive like how you perceive those incidents around that is going around the world as an individual as your own identity how do you perceive them like how much of a guilt or how much of a responsibility one should carry for that
obviously you should have limitless responsibility in those terms you should limited responsibility doesn't mean that you have to react and it just means that you have to feel responsible for it and you have to acknowledge it see these are extreme cases especially war and war-torn countries and you know humans they kill for anything nowadays they kill to eat meat they kill in the name of God they kill in the name of you know religion they kill in the name of identity they kill in the name of jealousy of ego so
there's so many reasons why death is happening
and we have kind of forgotten the whole humanity aspect and we have used ethics to cover up a lot of things
morals
policies and morals but see मैले तिमीलाई अघि नै पनि भनेको थिएँ नि if you empower a limited identity violence is the natural consequence के and with a limited identity I mean the way people identify themselves in the world these days के if you talk to an American and you put an American and an let's say a person from an Arab country, together,
Yeah.
like there might be some friction over there,
Yeah.
because one identifies themselves as a Western and other one not.
Yeah.
अनि even us के like तिमी मानम चाइना गयो, तिमीले तिम्रो छेउमा चाहिँ एउटा इन्डियन देख्यो भने चाहिँ गर for some reason होइन, you can communicate with the Indian. Maybe you know Chinese. If you were not to know Chinese, you would be able to communicate with the Indian.
Definitely.
And then if you meet a Nepali guy, like screw the Indian guy, I'm gonna go to Nepali guy type को हुन्छ होइन.
Yeah.
अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि दुईवटा नेपाली पऱ्यो, एउटा तिम्रो भनौँ न एउटा तिम्रो सिटीको पऱ्यो, अर्को बाहिरको पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ तिम्रो सिटीको, अनि यदि तिम्रै सिटीको दुईवटा पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ तिम्रो टोलको त्यहाँ पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ तिमी त एउटा टोलको साथी भन्ने होइन. So you always have a certain level of closeness with the people that are closer to you, and then we have created these magical borders, like country borders, and then we have passports and everything, and no, you can't get inside that country because your passport is not valid. And then I just question myself, like, where's the humanity? Where's the humanity? Okay? And I feel like we are losing humanity, and we are becoming limited identities because of that. Once you have a lot of humanity, once you understand humanity, once you see all humans as the same, then you're a limitless possibility. You're a limitless possibility. Okay? And that's when we as humans, we can thrive. That's what we have been doing in the past thousands of years. But the last couple of thousand years, especially the last 3,000-4,000 years, we have went forward in terms of technology. We have made computers, science has improved, but we have do you think we are happier nowadays than we were 2,000 or 3,000 years ago?
We are definitely, I feel like we are definitely blessed in terms of technology and the facilities that we can
definitely get. I think technology is very good, but the
like
question
in terms
is,
of the happiness part is questionable. I am not sure.
Right?
I'm not sure whether they were happy or we were happy, because I literally see, when I walk through, because you see the roads are, I see these people who don't have much, but their laughs is louder than when I go to let's say Le Sherpa, I'm having a dinner with group of people, right?
Exactly.
I don't see that laugh within them. So
it doesn't mean that if you are well off or not that you're
no I'm just saying that because like the way we have designed the society, the guy who has all of it should be the happiest, but he's not. Right? He's not. And the one who have nothing is also able to be happy within this society. So for me, like, the definition of happiness has come to a point where I don't know 2,000 years ago where everybody was happy or not. But definitely I feel like there was more clarity then, there was less things, there was less.
So money and everything, right? A lot of things we get for ourselves just to feel good, better about ourselves. You empower your body. Let's say if you get a very nice hair gel and you put your hair in a way and you look very good and you think that you're appealing to girls, then the identity that you're empowering is your body and your looks, which is a limited identity, right? It's not going to take you far. It's the same if you buy yourself a very nice car and you brag about it in front of your friends. See, when you have a lot of money, suddenly money doesn't mean that much anymore to a lot of people. Eventually, there's a point to get financially comfortable. I'm not saying give away your
Definitely.
money. So with happiness, how I think it works is, for some reason, if your intellect is gone, like people with Alzheimer, for example, people are very stressed, they have a very difficult life, and suddenly they have Alzheimer and they forget everything on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Then suddenly they're happy again. There's sweet people, they're happy people. Maybe they forget, they're clumsy, but they're sweet. They're very happy. When people grow old, बुढो मान्छेहरू छन् नि 80 वर्ष कटेको 84 पूजा गरेपछि चाहिँ a lot of people, old people have this level of sweetness. They're very
okay. So nice. before like moving forward, like, because I think we are talking about a lot of in terms of life and death at the same time, right? And my question to you would be, like, let's say you have this understanding, and let's say there's out there somewhere someone who is, I think we should also address suicide, like the volunteer death, right, as an important aspect of our society, because there's a mental pandemic that we are going to face, or we are already facing it, and that the consequences of that is not wanting to live this life, not wanting to say that this life is enough. What would be your thought on that? Because there's a school of thought where people say that if they choose to do that, they should be allowed to do that, right? Like the samadhi is also something like that.
यस्तो मैले चाहिँ अब I am in no position to tell what is good or what is not.
No, I'm not saying for you to what is good or not. What is your opinion on that? Like
मेरो ओपिनियन चाहिँ के छ भन्दा अब मेरो ओपिनियन भनेको चाहिँ if somebody commits suicide, they must have struggled with something. They must have struggled with something. अनि अब it's a case by case approach as well. But
like giving you an example, recently there was a man in front of a government office.
Yeah.
Lit himself up to the death, right? To prove a point.
मैले यसो छ to prove a point हैन अब यस्तो छ I as far as I know about his background and everything मैले सुनेको र हल्का अब खासै मैले त पढेको हैन धेरै सुनेर आएको भिडियोजहरु देखेको. What I know is that he had some debts. He had some debts to pay. It was not more than 1 crore, I guess. You know? And he had gone through a lot of failures, and he just wanted his voice to be heard. He was the voice of the common man in Nepal.
Definitely.
And it's very sad that that he passed away. And well, should he have committed suicide or not? I'm not in a position to answer that. But what I think is that what I do know is that he had a child, and he had a wife. And that child and wife are not gonna have a father and a husband now. And I don't know, maybe he had any emotional, mental struggles, whatever, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that the people that he left behind are gonna be sad. They're gonna miss him. And could he have avoided that? Depends on what kind of disease he had in his head. I know. I don't know. I can't really say.
Okay.
It's a case by case approach. Overall, suicide it's a big topic in the world these days. And suicides ko चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दा people they are suffering. People are actually suffering.
Yes.
People are suffering so much that they are ready to take their lives. It has come to that extent that
to end that suffering.
Yeah, to end that suffering. Because why would you take your life without suffering? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The suffering has to be so unbearable.
The suffering has to be so unbearable that you have to end your life. But suffering usually comes from yourself.
You create that.
You create that.
In your own head.
You create that in your own head. So there's pain and there's suffering.
Yeah.
Pain and suffering are not the same. Okay?
Pain is like when I physically hit you.
Yeah.
Is the pain.
Pain can be felt in your body as well. For example, even after a breakup, you get that feeling in your throat like,
oh fuck.
I know,
yeah,
that's
I know.
pain. That's painful, right? But then afterwards, then you magically create the suffering.
Okay, the thought, the compulsive thought that goes on and on and on.
The thought, yeah. These people are suffering a lot, and before they commit suicide. So committing suicide, not a lot of people commit suicide in a really planned way. So like भनौँ न आज उठेर चाहिँ मैले अब 7 दिनमा सुसाइड गर्छु भनेर युजुअली गर्दैन के. It's an impulsive thing. It's a build up of things, but it's an impulsive. I'm not a specialist in suicides, but this is just what I read.
Okay.
Right? And it's usually an impulsive thing because they can't handle it.
No, definitely. I think whatever we are discussing is not we are an expert, but we are discussing as a seeker because we want to understand.
No, but it's a very delicate topic. And
I know. But
like,
that's the whole point of Seeker podcast, that we have to kind of understand, because we are talking about death and not talking about a volunteer death, because suicide as considered is like I'm volunteering to die at a point of time. That
in your so you have chakras in the body, right? And you can, whenever you die, your life source leaves through a certain chakra. And the worst possible way to leave is through your Muladhara chakra, through your lowest chakra.
Okay.
Right below the sacrum. And in people that commit suicide, it is evident that their life source leaves throughout their lowest chakra. And how can that be seen? In a lot of autopsies, what they see is that people that die in fear, because when you commit suicide you die in a lot of fear, is that they shit the pants, they pee after dying.
Okay.
So whenever you see that, then you know that was probably in spiritual terms, that was not a
Good death.
not the optimal death.
Optimal death.
Not the optimal death.
So, like when you talk about this, right? As we come, I think we talked a lot about in journal about death. What do you think is a good death? What is like an optimal death? If we have, if we have to welcome with all our arms, right, to death, how would you?
I think an optimal death would be the moment that death comes. You have to be ready for it. You have to embrace it. You should not fear it, and you should understand that you should be you should put perspective on everything around you. Okay, on your family, your friends, your money, your body, everything, because you're not going to take anything with you. You're all going to leave it behind. And
Just that mere realization.
That mere realization, I would just say, to the viewers, like if they want to understand the topic of death more, just every morning, after you wake up or just after you leave home, just for a minute, think about death and think about your own death. Think about that it's possible. Think about that it's possible that you might die someday. That they will eventually come, and imagine that, just not how, just
So
that.
okay, adding to that another question, because after that I would want to know more about you, is like, so if I practice that every day, what kind of effects would I see in myself?
It's just I mean,
it's individual.
So I yesterday I called up my uncle. He lives in Belgium. मेरो कान्छो काका हुनुहुन्छ. I had a very rough time with him growing up. I love him a lot. He's a very good mentor to me.
Nice.
And we were having a good conversation, and we were discussing this topic, and he was like, he was telling me that he had this discussion with another friend of his as well.
Okay.
Another uncle of mine as well.
Okay.
Happens to be Adhikari as well. And both of them were discussing this topic, and their conclusion was, right, you should not think too much about death, just for about 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's more than enough, because if you think about it too much, एउटा सानो औषधि हो नि खास त बेसिकली. सो त्यो तिमीले दिनमा चाहिँ 10-15 वटा औषधि खायो भने चाहिँ तिमीलाई ओभरडोज हुन्छ.
Okay.
होइन. So it's the same with death. Okay? You can't think too long about that or too deep about that.
Okay.
Just surface level 5 to 10 minutes मा चाहिँ गर अब and then what happens is the changes that you will see is you will actually understand how finite your life is.
How grateful you can be with the life.
You can put a whole perspective on your life. Okay? Death is the end. You can put an ending point at it now. Because now we're like, kaile types kole, and then
Exactly.
we make all kinds of choices and decisions and this and that and everything. Kaile, and then suddenly kaile is in 5 years. Or in 5 months.
Yeah.
Or maybe in 50 years.
Yeah.
You don't know ni. And then the kaile, that's dangerous. They would say, every day a small reminder, and live your life optimally. Enjoy it as well.
So okay, that's pretty good. Do you have any book that you would like to recommend to the viewers?
Man. Yeah, of course. That's where I got most of my information. Death by Sadhguru, an inside story. It's amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think that's a good book to begin. But I think that if you really want to understand death, you need to understand life.
Okay.
Because for people that are not living optimally or living joyfully, death only gets meaning because of life. And if life is not lived well, then there's a certain amount of meaning of death that is lost.
So, hence, like saying the same thing, like until you understand the true meaning of death, you might not really appreciate life that you have.
It works in both ways.
Yeah.
It works in both ways.
For me, that was my experience of like me realizing that, death is the ultimate truth. So if death is the ultimate truth, what do I do with my life now? What are other truths for me? What is this for me? And then, so like, for me, it was like going, like how you said it, for me, it was like going reverse to coming back now, realizing that my life is definitely limited with my time and my energy.
Yeah.
And how do I spend this has to be the most optimal moment in my life every time. This moment right now is very optimal, right? Like this is a very beautiful moment that we are capturing. And every moment, if I have to live in the optimal way, I have to remind my destination, my goal is nothing more than that beautiful death that is going to come to me.
Yeah.
And when it comes, I welcome it with all arms because I'm all ready. I've lived the fullest of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm all ready. Yes, come. Brother, you see, you
Yeah.
want to see my life? It's amazing.
Yeah.
You want to take me now? Take me now. So, like, the understanding of that fearlessness, because I think what it does is that understanding death takes the fear away of living this life. Okay, most of the people
Yeah.
they fear death. Okay, that is meaning that they're
हाम्रो
not.
सोसाइटीमा पनि त्यसरी नै सिकाएको हुन्छ नि अब त्यो भनौँ न मान्छे बेसी बिचारा बिचारा
त्यो डरको
Bro,
मात्र.
you remember when the Queen Elizabeth died, UK-मा होइन Queen died and everybody was like rest in peace, so sad यताउति भनेको त why the hell she lived the great life?
Yeah,
कति वर्ष पुगेको थियो I think 100
exactly.
होइन,
Like a
you
lot
know,
of years.
so like we should celebrate her. Like
Exactly.
let's celebrate her. Like and she had an amazing life. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
मैले चाहिँ के भन्छु भन्दाखेरि if I cross at least 80 years त भनौँ definitely होइन त्यो भन्दा त let's see if I cross that amount of years होइन then after that I don't want people to mourn my death.
Exactly, and that is what I also have. Okay, like after I die, there should be a grand party.
Yeah, man, fuck yeah.
People should celebrate that shit.
Yeah, man.
You know, like he's the worst. They should really celebrate.
on my death party, I want all of my homies to play Call Break one more time. For
Yeah,
me.
like for you, Sushil, I'll play the call break, my brother. If not for me, you just have to dance. You just have to dance. Play the music that I love. Just dance,
Yeah.
and then say that wow. You know, like there was this amazing soul that is no longer with us, but we celebrate you, because this is something that I realized. I've watched movie Coco, the Coco movie. Like you've seen how in Mexico people celebrate death with music, dance, and everything. And I feel like that aspect of that culture is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because if we are able to adapt that and say that whoever passed away, we are able to celebrate because he lived his life to the fullest, would be a very meaningful, way of telling someone goodbye.
Yeah, definitely.
And at least for us, we want it to happen. So let's see if we can make that happen for
Definitely,
us.
it would make people's life more interesting and more fun as well.
Definitely, man. And I like the fact that how we want our life to be, like how we want our death to be not mourned but to be celebrated.
Yeah, man. I like imagine somebody thinking about you after like 5-6 years after you're gone and then being sad. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
That's
very
shit,
sad.
man.
That is sad, no?
Bro, that's very shit, man. Doesn't that give like a shitty vibe to your existence?
Exactly.
Right?
If the person is actually thrilled, inspired, motivated,
Yeah.
or feel like energized because of thought that the person had about me,
Yeah.
I think that is for me a life well lived.
Definitely.
A life well lived.
Yeah.
And then that's what I say is life, that's life. And life, it is what it is. So make sure that you make the most of it. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad, Sushil, for you to come here today and talk about this. Before we go and end this podcast today, we talked about, I think you came here in the beginning as you have this identity that I call it cosmic identity, that I asked you about who you are as a seeker, who you are, what you think about death.
Yeah.
And then you just explained to me all this. Now I feel like I want you to come to other identities that you carry around you and explain to us who you are as a person.
Right.
Like give a short introduction so that people understand where you come from and where your thoughts are.
So let's start from the beginning, from
Yeah,
birth. I
sure.
think that makes sense. I know.
No worries.
So I was born in Kathmandu
Uh,
to two lovely parents. I had an elder sister. She was about a year and a half older than I was.
uh-huh.
And by the time I was 8 months old, we went to Belgium. And in Belgium, my brother was born. He was a year and a half younger than I am. And I grew up in Belgium. I grew up in a very normal household with normal parents. And then my parents, they opened a small business when I was around the age of 5-6. That was also the first time I came back to Nepal, and I witnessed the whole idea of grandparents and the third world according to Western education. But I grew up in Belgium. I did my bachelor's, and later on I tried my master's. I didn't like it, so I quit it. I went to Spain to study for an Erasmus exchange as well. And I've been doing a lot of things. I've been enjoying my life. I've been very lucky with my upbringing. I didn't really have an identity crisis. I was always comfortable wherever I was. I was very flexible, very comfortable. But I was a very aggressive kid growing up, very emotional kid as well. And then I think the decision of coming back to Nepal was heavily influenced by my dad. I always wanted to follow somebody, so I decided to come back because of my dad, to work here and to live in Nepal. My brother had moved here and in 2017, and he told me that this was a nice thing to do. So it was very appealing in the beginning. So I came here, and then 19 was a nice year. I I had a great time in 19. Explored a lot, enjoyed, met a lot of people, Pani. And then in 2020, lockdown happened, and then after lockdown, I started to work a little bit more, got a bit more serious. And I think from that time, I started to my tendency started to go more towards like what is it that I want to do in life? What is it that I want to be in life? Who do I want to be when the types go? And then always so in for myself पनि, but also in the yogic sciences, तिम्रो तिम्रो चाहिँ इन्टेलिजेन्सलाई चाहिँ तिमीले बुद्धि भन्छौ, okay? It's like a knife, you cut through things नि, and you cut through your memory, your manas नि, हैन? But to do that, the person who holding the knife should identify themselves, okay? Which is called in Sanskrit ahankara. So you have to put an identity before you think. And then beforehand, it was always my identity in Belgium as a Nepali foreigner. And then coming back here, I was like, the foreigner that came back.
Yeah.
The ideal story.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I started to identify myself more and more with things besides my mind and besides my body. And coming to these things, I'm feeling like I'm understanding life more. I'm feeling like I'm getting the best out of life. Maybe not what I expected of myself 5-6 years ago, but something that is worth much more now. Definitely, yeah. And I think the whole concept of death and realizing that death is so profound, but also so beautiful. That gives me a lot of energy to move in this direction. And I'm pretty sure that if I just keep moving in this direction, that I'll do really well for myself and for the people around me, and I'll make a lot of people happy in this world. And I feel like if I do that, that's gonna be a life well lived. That's gonna be a life well lived. That's gonna give meaning to my life, about how I came from that point all the way here, फन्ट्याङ गरेर कहाँ पुगेर के मिस्टेक गरेर, disappointed my parents a lot of times. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think I'm on a very interesting track. And also for people that are interested in these kind of topics or these kind of ways of thinking, I always try to help reach out to people, and I try to motivate people as well. So yeah, I feel like I'm pretty happy in Nepal right now. Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. So, like knowing you more, and I think you're trying to do, you're running Rupakot, you're managing director of Rupakot, right?
Yeah.
And also you're trying to start a cafe.
Yeah.
Which is coming up where in Kalimati.
In Kalimati, yes.
Yeah.
Kalimati
so it's a Rupakot cafe that is coming out.
I'm gonna branch out. I'm gonna do something small.
Yeah. I think you have talents in your food.
Yeah, you think so? You like my food, right?
Yeah, I love your food, man.
Yeah,
I love your food. I
Great.
loved it. I think
I just have to convert that in sales now.
No, you will. I'm pretty sure, and I really wish you well, man. I really wish you well with everything that has brought you to this realization and here today. And I'm really grateful to be your friend. I'm really grateful to be
Same.
whoever. I'm really grateful for this experience that we are having in this journey, because I also have a lot of a lot of wavelengths of friends that come and go, but they're like this wave people who are so aligned within your idea of life, that they kind of stick around. They kind of find that value within each other, and I genuinely value that, and I hope that we can still come back here again, because I think you are one person that we can have good arguments.
Yes.
And then you would come up with a great perspective, and I think that would be very valuable
Yeah.
to people to listen to, and also for our memory to have, so that our grandchildren can see,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
and
Definitely.
they can be inspired. So I think that is what my purpose is. I'm not really looking for, like the glory or this or that. Like this is a seeking path, and you just keep seeking. And
Yeah.
today when we seek the death, I feel like there's certain realization. I'm like, I have this clarity, and I hope the audiences, whoever had listened today, had this clarity about death as well. And I definitely would gonna go and read the book Death. And
Yeah, I think Sadhguru explains it in such a way that it makes sense to a lot of people that are a bit more that need a little bit more of a scientific backing. But he explains it in such a simple way, and but it's not only books that's gonna do that. But if you really wanna understand this road more, then obviously it's all about sadhana. It's about practicing.
exactly.
I think you
No,
do your
definitely.
sadhanas as
I
well.
do. I do.
Yeah.
I do my sadhana. I do Masambe Vikriya Yoga, right? I do that every day, and that has to be very honest. That has made this Seeker podcast.
Yeah.
'Cause after that is the only, that mere realization of how you have to spend your time. And me doing that, me talking to you like this, me seeing you like this, it just makes me believe on what path I'm walking. And I want to walk that more without questioning it.
Yeah.
And see where it leads to me, because we have walked a lot of paths.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of people, we've heard a lot of theories, but I think none of them kind of
I
answers
think that's
you.
the beauty. That's the beauty about being a seeker, right? No?
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
just keep seeking, and then you just keep moving forward
Yeah.
to see what you will find next.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, brother. I
you for
really,
having me.
really appreciate you. And
Yeah, you too, man.
and
I'll
thank
say it
you.
in front of the camera. I love you, bro.
I love you too, man. I think we'll come back again. We'll
Yeah.
talk. Now we talked about death. Our last chapter should be about life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'm really grateful for you to come here today. Thank you so much, everybody, for us listening to here till now, and I'm really grateful for you to hear us. And if you have anything you want us to discuss more about, other topics, please let us know. And yeah, please spread the word and see where it might lead us to. Thank you so much. Have a great time. Take care. La, Sathi.